What's up guys? In this video, I'm gonna talk about something that I haven't talked about specifically, but I pretty much do it almost every single workout I do with a total gym or sliding bench trainer. And this has to do with regards to sets. What I'm talking about is a certain type of set or set classifications, often called as a rest pause set and or a cluster set. Sometimes these terms are used interchangeably, but they are actually two distinct different types of sets you guys can maximize. Now I'll get into their differences here in a second, but I have to stress, pun intended here, that this can be a huge tool in stressing your muscles and dialing in that focus on a given muscle, which is what I continually tell you guys to focus on, not just on this equipment, but really just building muscle and defining your muscles in general. So before I get to that, guys, as always, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing this content if you guys do find this video useful. All equipment and stuff you guys see here can be linked down below in the description box. All right, so you guys know that when most people approach a typical set, they kind of have a rep range or a set reps they want to kind of hit in that particular exercise. But oftentimes I've recommended and I've said, especially with the total gym or sliding bench trainer, is that whenever I approach this and even program stuff for you guys, is I don't have you guys too hung up on the exact rep range. I did do a whole video on this if you guys are curious, which I'll link it down below that kind of answers some of these questions. But oftentimes my goal is to get on this thing, do as many reps as kind of possible until I get to the point of really building up tension and just really feeling that ideal muscle contraction, muscle pump, however you want to describe it, kind of build up in a given muscle that I'm trying to work in that exercise. So oftentimes what I do to really accomplish this is I'll start going through, in this case, let's say a chest press, I start doing the set, doing the number of repetitions, I start to feel that tension kind of build up, or you can say like a muscle pump or fatigue starting to build up in my chest. It gets to the point I really can't do any more until I get to kind of close to failure. I really want to avoid that, and I'll touch on that. But I will then stop, rest for a few seconds, rest for a moment. You could say literally stop, but however you want to describe it, stop or pause is up to you. Then maybe for a period of like maybe 3 to upwards of 10 seconds, I'll continue back off where I was and finish that set. Now what this would be called is a traditional rest pause set. I might have a rep range in my head, like maybe 20, and I might take a break somewhere in there and kind of go through it that way. Otherwise, you can do kind of what I do and don't even have a set rep range and just kind of go to town and take a rest or a pause whenever you kind of need it. And what this does, it kind of gives your body a nice needed break. Instead of going to failure where your secondary muscles might be taken on and diverts the stress away from that given muscle, plus failure can sometimes kind of maybe promote injury. It just gives you guys, as a kind of, you guys can kind of assume, a little bit of a mini break that allows you to kind of finish up and just drill out a few more extra reps that again kind of continually builds up and drives tension into the muscle. And so again, that would be considered a rest pause set. I just did a follow along workout where I kind of think I'm making this video and I mentioned I was doing a cluster sets, and really cluster sets is a little bit different. Cluster sets, you might have a predetermined rep range and maybe even rest period. And traditionally cluster sets are done with like power lifters and things like that. Certainly you can do it with a total gym as well. I might have a cluster set of like say 3-3-3-3 or 5-5-5-5, meaning that I'm gonna do like maybe 5 sets of 5 mini sets of 5. So I'll do a set of 5 just here, you know, grind it out, take a break for a few seconds, do a few more. You could even do something where you're adding weight or drop setting into weight too, so that's also an option. You might have a set rest period in there, but oftentimes the cluster sets aren't necessarily done to really kind of more fatigue or failure. Like I said, not recommend failure, but the rest pause sets might be doing more kind of like a more fatiguing related exercise. The cluster sets are more kind of structured and kind of laid out. So I'd recommend trying to experiment with both of these. You might have a preference towards one or the other, but the simple takeaway here is that really don't worry about it, overthink it too much. What I'd like you guys to at least think about, if you haven't already, is regardless if you have a set rep range in your head or not, is trying to take these mini breaks of say 3 to 10 seconds in between each set with the goal of continuing and building tension and forcing tension on that specific muscle in that exercise. I don't know if I said this at the start of the video, odds are you guys are probably doing this anyways whenever you approach your total gym training. Most people will take little mini breaks whenever they're using this equipment and kind of keep drilling out some more repetitions just because they can do more repetitions on here. But there's probably some other sets you guys can take advantage of. Some things like compound sets or supersets. Compound set is basically doing, say, an exercise like my chest press, working my chest till a period of repetitions or until that tension starts to build up, then immediately transition to another chest exercise. In this case, maybe a chest fly. So it's doing 2 exercises back to back, working that same body part. Or as you guys are seeing in this video, certainly it makes sense to do something called a superset. And sometimes supersets and compound sets are used interchangeably, but they're also different. A superset would be something where you're doing an exercise. In this case, I'm doing a chest exercise, and then I will go right into the antagonistic muscles or some other different body part, which case I would do like a back row or some sort of row. So go into the chest press, go immediately into a row, And that would be an example of a traditional superset. And there's actually more sets on here that I could have covered. Regardless, the point is, try and maximize and utilize some of these sets if you guys aren't doing so. And this is just one of those things, honestly, I'm just surprised I didn't talk more specifically about. I think I may have alluded to it a number of times, but in future programs and future one-on-one coaching programs, if you guys are interested, you can check the website if you guys are interested in that. I'm probably gonna do a lot more specific programming on this because I think people are really losing sight of this and just thinking to set rep ranges or set reps. And I think utilizing rest pause sets or cluster sets are really beneficial for most people. But that is it, guys. I'll be interested to hear if you guys are doing any of these sets, or there's any other sets you guys are using that are maximizing your performance. If you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback around this matter, definitely drop them down in the comment box, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you.